The abduction. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless civilizations rise and fall, each believing they are alone in the universe. But on a warm summer night in 2045, humanity's isolation came to an abrupt end. Sarah and James Cooper sat on their porch, gazing at the stars while their newborn daughter, Emily, slept peacefully in her crib inside. The couple had no idea that high above Earth's atmosphere, advanced alien eyes were watching their every move. Aboard the Zarkoni mothership, first observer Zixtal peered at the holographic display of the Cooper residence. His large, multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the information before him. Fascinating, Zixtal murmured, his voice a melodic series of clicks and whistles. These humans and their offspring, so primitive, yet so intriguing. Beside him, Science Director Vrelna nodded her bulbous head. Indeed, their emotional attachments are particularly perplexing. It seems inefficient. Zixtal's antennae twitched with excitement. Perhaps we should conduct a more thorough study. Vrelna's eyes widened. You can't mean... Oh, but I do, Zixtal replied, a hint of mischief in his voice. Let's take one of their young, raise it as our own. Think of the knowledge we could gain. Vrelna hesitated, but the ethical implications... Zixtal waved a tentacle dismissively. Ethics? We are scientists, Vrelna. Knowledge is our highest calling. Besides, we'll treat it well. Like what's that Earth term? Ah yes, a pet. Down on Earth, Sarah and James were oblivious to the alien plot unfolding above them. As they shared a tender kiss under the starry sky, a beam of shimmering light descended upon their home. Inside, little Emily stirred in her crib. A soft, pulsing glow filled the room, and the infant's eyes opened wide. She didn't cry or scream as a strange, tentacled figure appeared beside her. Instead, she reached out curiously, her tiny fingers brushing against the alien's iridescent skin. Zixtal, for it was he who had transported down, felt an unexpected warmth in his 3 hearts. "Hello, little one," he whispered in his native tongue. "You're about to embark on quite the adventure." With practiced ease, Zixtal scooped up Emily and activated his personal transporter. In a flash of light, they vanished, leaving behind only an empty crib and a pair of desperate, confused parents. Aboard the mothership, Vrelna waited anxiously in the biology lab. When Zixtal materialized with the human infant, she couldn't help but gasp. "By the 7 moons," she exclaimed, "it's so small." Zixtal gently placed Emily on an examination table. "Small, yes, but full of potential. Just think of what we can learn from raising this creature." As if on cue, Emily began to cry, her wails echoing through the sterile lab. Vrelna winced at the sound, her sensitive auditory receptors overwhelmed. "First thing we need to learn," she grumbled, "is how to make it stop that infernal noise." Zixtal chuckled, a sound like bubbles popping underwater. "All in good time, my dear Vrelna. All in good time." Over the next few days, the Zarkoni ship buzzed with excitement. News of the human pet spread quickly, and scientists from various disciplines clamored for a chance to observe the infant. Zixtal, however, grew increasingly protective of Emily. He insisted on being her primary caretaker, much to Vrelna's surprise and mild annoyance. "You're growing attached," she accused one day as Zixtal cradled Emily, feeding her a specially formulated nutrient solution. Zixtal's skin flushed a deeper shade of blue. "Nonsense. I'm simply ensuring the consistency of our experiment. Too many variables could skew the results." But as he looked down at Emily's peaceful face, Zixtal knew Vrelna was right. Against all logic and scientific training, he was developing feelings for this tiny human. As weeks turned into months, Emily, renamed Nova by Zixtal, began to grow and change. The Zarkoni watched in fascination as she learned to crawl, then walk, then run. Her first words were in the Zarkoni language, a fact that filled Zixtal with an inexplicable pride. Nova's presence on the ship didn't go unnoticed by the higher-ups. Grand Overseer Krastil, the supreme leader of the Zarkoni, demanded regular updates on the human experiment. "And what have we learned?" Krastil asked during one such report, his holographic image looming over Zixtol and Vrelna. Zixtol straightened his posture. "Grand Overseer, the human child has shown remarkable adaptability. She's learning our language and customs at an astonishing rate. Moreover, her emotional capacity is unexpected." Krastil's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Well," Zixtol continued, "humans form strong emotional bonds. Nova, for instance, has imprinted on me as a parental figure. This attachment seems to drive her to excel, to please. It's quite different from our own offspring." The Grand Overseer was silent for a moment. Interesting. This emotional drive, could it be weaponized? Zixtol felt a chill run through his body. Weaponized? I'm not sure I understand. "Think, Zixtol," Krastil said, his voice taking on a dangerous edge. "If we could harness this human capacity for emotion, imagine the soldiers we could create. Loyal, driven, willing to sacrifice everything for their leaders." Vrelna spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "But Grand Overseer, Nova is just a child. Surely you don't mean to." "I mean to do whatever is necessary to ensure the continued dominance of the Zarkoni Empire," Krastil interrupted. "Continue your observations, but be prepared to shift the focus of your experiment. I want to know everything about human weaknesses, strengths, and how we can exploit them." As the hologram flickered out, Zixtal and Vrelna exchanged worried glances. The weight of what they had set in motion settled heavily upon them. Back on Earth, the disappearance of Emily Cooper had caused an international sensation. Theories ranged from alien abduction to government conspiracy. Sarah and James Cooper appeared on countless news programs, pleading for the return of their daughter. Little did they know that millions of light years away, their daughter was thriving among the stars, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her. As Nova's 5th birthday approached, Zixtol found himself facing a moral dilemma. He had grown to love the human child as his own, but he knew the Grand Overseer's plans would only bring her harm. One night, as Nova slept peacefully in her specially designed quarters, Zixtol made a decision that would change the course of 2 civilizations. "Vrelna," he whispered, entering her private lab. "We need to talk." Vrelna looked up from her work, sensing the urgency in Zixtol's voice. "What is it?" "We have to protect Nova," Zixtol said, his voice filled with determination. "Whatever it takes." Vrelna nodded slowly, realizing that she too had grown fond of the human child. "What do you propose?" As Zixtal outlined his daring plan, neither of them noticed the small surveillance drone hovering in the corner of the lab, its red light blinking steadily as it transmitted every word back to the Grand Overseer's private chambers. The stage was set for a conflict that would span galaxies and challenge the very notion of what it means to be human, or alien, the cosmic prodigy. As the Zarkoni mothership glided through the cosmos, Nova's childhood unfolded in a whirlwind of alien wonders and hidden dangers. Now 10 years old, she was no ordinary human. She was a cosmic prodigy, a bridge between 2 worlds. "Nova, focus." Zixtol's voice echoed through the holographic training chamber. "Feel the energy flow through you." Nova closed her eyes, her brow furrowing in concentration. The air around her began to shimmer, tiny motes of light swirling in complex patterns. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted from her outstretched hands, forming a pulsing sphere of pure plasma. "By the 7 moons," Vrelna gasped, her multifaceted eyes widening in astonishment. "She's done it." Nova opened her eyes, a triumphant grin spreading across her face as she gazed at the glowing orb hovering before her. "I did it, Dad. I mean, first observer Zixtol." She quickly corrected herself, remembering the formality expected of her. Zixtol felt a mixture of pride and concern wash over him. Nova's ability to manipulate Zarkoni technology with her mind was unprecedented. It was a breakthrough that could revolutionize their understanding of human potential, and make her an even more tempting subject for the Grand Overseer's nefarious plans. "Excellent work, Nova," Zixtal said, trying to keep his voice neutral. "That's enough for today. Why don't you go to the observation deck and watch the nebula we're passing?" As Nova skipped out of the chamber, Vrelna turned to Zixtal, her antennae twitching nervously. "Her progress is remarkable, but it's becoming harder to hide. The Grand Overseer will want results soon." Zixtal nodded grimly. "We need to accelerate our plan. Nova's not safe here anymore." Meanwhile, in the depths of the ship, another conversation was taking place. Grand Overseer Krastil stood before a group of shadowy figures, their forms obscured by a shimmering force field. "Gentlemen of the Galactic Council," Krastil began, his voice dripping with false benevolence, "I bring you news that will change the balance of power in our universe forever." The figures leaned forward, their interest piqued. "We have in our possession a human child," Krastil continued, "one with extraordinary abilities. With her, we can create an army of super soldiers, loyal only to us. Imagine it, the entire galaxy under Zarkoni rule." One of the shadowy counselors spoke up, his voice gravelly and uncertain. "But the humans, they're a protected species. The intergalactic treaty clearly states." "Treaties can be broken," Krastil snapped, his patience wearing thin. "With this human weapon, who would dare stand against us?" As the council murmured in agreement, a small figure huddled in a hidden alcove above the chamber, her heart racing. Nova had followed Zixtal, curious about his secretive behavior, only to stumble upon this chilling revelation. Her mind reeled as the truth of her situation came crushing down. She wasn't a cherished pet or even a scientific curiosity. She was a weapon, a tool to be used for galactic domination. Tears stinging her eyes, Nova raced through the ship's winding corridors, desperate to find Zixtal. She burst into his private quarters, startling both him and Vrelna. "You lied to me," Nova cried, her voice breaking. "I'm not your daughter. I'm not even your pet. I'm just a weapon for your stupid war." Zixtal's heart clenched at the pain in Nova's voice. He moved to comfort her, but she flinched away. "Nova, please," he pleaded. "Let me explain. You're right, we haven't been entirely truthful with you. But you must believe me when I say that Vrelna and I care for you deeply." Nova's tear-streaked face was a mixture of anger and confusion. "Then why? Why did you take me from my real family?" Vrelna stepped forward, her usual scientific detachment crumbling in the face of Nova's distress. "It was wrong, Nova. We see that now. We were blinded by scientific curiosity, but watching you grow, it changed us." As Zixtal and Vrelna explained the full truth, the abduction, the experiment, and their growing realization of the moral implications, Nova's anger slowly gave way to a steely determination. "We have to stop them," she said, her young voice filled with a maturity beyond her years. "We can't let them use me to hurt other humans or anyone else in the galaxy." Zixtal nodded, a plan already forming in his mind. "You're right, Nova, and I think I know how we can do it, but it will be dangerous and will need your unique abilities." As they huddled together, outlining their daring plan, none of them noticed the tiny drone hovering just outside the window, its sensors capturing every word and transmitting them directly to Grand Overseer Krastil. In his opulent chambers, Krastil's face contorted with rage as he listened to the conversation. "Traitors," he hissed, smashing a delicate crystal sculpture with one of his tentacles. "I'll see them all dissected for this betrayal." He turned to his most trusted military commander, General Draskor. "Prepare the troops. It's time we showed our pet and her misguided guardians the true might of the Zarkoni Empire." As alarms began to blare throughout the ship, Nova, Zixtal, and Vrelna knew their time had run out. The next few hours would determine not only their fate, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. Nova closed her eyes, feeling the strange energy pulsing through her veins. She was no longer just a lost human child or an alien experiment. She was something entirely new, a bridge between worlds, a force for change in a vast and dangerous universe. "Unready," she said, opening her eyes with newfound resolve. "Let's save the galaxy." With those words, the unlikely trio plunged into adventure that would shake the foundations of the cosmos and prove that the strength of the human spirit could overcome even the most alien of obstacles. The Quantum Rebellion. As chaos erupted aboard the Zarkoni mothership, Nova, Zixtal, and Vrelna raced through pulsing bio-organic corridors, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous alien vessel. Alarms blared, bathing everything in an eerie crimson glow. "Quick, to the quantum drive chamber," Zixtal shouted, his tentacles waving frantically. "It's our only chance." Nova's heart pounded as she ran, her mind reeling from the revelations of the past few hours. She was no longer just Nova, the human pet. She was a cosmic anomaly, a bridge between species with untapped potential that could reshape the galaxy. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a squad of Zarkoni soldiers, their exoskeletons gleaming menacingly under the pulsing lights. "Stand down, traitors," the lead soldier bellowed, raising a plasma rifle. Nova felt a surge of energy course through her body. Without thinking, she thrust her hands forward. A shimmering force field materialized, deflecting the incoming plasma bolts. "Whoa," Nova breathed, staring her hands in awe. "That's new." Vrelna's eyes widened in amazement. "Incredible. Your neural pathways must be adapting to Zarkoni technology at an exponential rate." "Less science, more running," Zixtal urged, pulling them along. They finally reached the quantum drive chamber, a massive spherical room housing the ship's revolutionary propulsion system. At its center floated a swirling vortex of pure energy, the quantum core. "Nova, listen carefully," Zixtal said, his voice urgent. "You need to interface with the quantum core. Your unique biology might allow you to manipulate it in ways we can't." Nova nodded, her expression determined. She approached the swirling energy, feeling its pull on every cell in her body. As she reached out to touch it, tendrils of light snaked around her arms, enveloping her in a cocoon of quantum energy. Suddenly, Nova's consciousness expanded. She could see everything. The ship, the stars, the very fabric of space-time, all became clear to her in that moment. I can see it all," she whispered, her voice echoing with otherworldly resonance. "The quantum pathways, the hidden dimensions. I understand now." But their moment of triumph was short-lived. The chamber doors burst open, and Grand Overseer Crestel stormed in, flanked by heavily armed guards. "You fools!" Crestel roared, his eyes blazing with fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The human was our key to galactic domination." Zixtal stood protectively in front of Nova. "She's not a weapon, Crestel. She's a sentient being with rights. We were wrong to take her, and we're going to make it right." Crestel sneered. "Noble words from a traitor. Seize them." As the guards advanced, Nova felt a surge of power unlike anything she'd experienced before. The quantum energy pulsed around her, responding to her will. "No," she said, her voice resonating with newfound authority. "This ends now." With a thought, Nova manipulated the quantum field around them. Reality itself seemed to ripple and bend. The guards froze in place, caught in a localized time dilation field. Crastel's eyes widened in fear and awe. Impossible. Nova turned to Zixtal and Vrelna, her eyes glowing with quantum energy. "I can take us anywhere in the universe. Where should we go?" Zixtal and Vrelna exchanged a look. They knew there was only one right answer. "Earth," Zixtal said softly. "It's time to take you home." Nova nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension crossing her face. With a gesture, she opened a swirling quantum portal. The image of a blue-green planet appeared within it. Earth, her long-lost home. As they stepped towards the portal, Crestel made a desperate lunge. "You can't leave. The Empire needs you." Nova turned back, her expression both sad and resolute. "What the Empire needs is to learn compassion. Maybe one day, our species can meet as equals. But for now, goodbye." With that, Nova, Zixtal, and Vrelna stepped through the portal, leaving behind a stunned Krastil and a Zarkoni empire on the brink of transformation. They materialized in a quiet forest clearing on Earth. Nova fell to her knees, overwhelmed by the feeling of solid ground beneath her and the scent of pine in the air. Tears streamed down her face as she ran her hands through the grass. "I'm home," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Zixtal and Vrelna stood awkwardly nearby, their alien forms a stark contrast to the lush Earth environment. "Nova," Zixtal began hesitantly, "we know we can never fully atone for taking you from your home, but we want you to know that we've come to love you as our own." Nova looked up at them, her eyes shining. Despite everything, she knew her feelings for them were real. They had become her family, however unconventional. "I love you too," she said, pulling them into a hug. "Both of you, and I forgive you." As they embraced, a twig snapped nearby. They turned to see a middle-aged couple staring at them in shock, Sarah and James Cooper, Nova's biological parents. "Emily," Sarah breathed, hardly daring to believe her eyes. Nova stood, her heart racing. "Mom, Dad." As two families, one human, one alien, faced each other in that forest clearing, the true adventure was only beginning. Nova, the bridge between worlds, would need all her newfound powers and the love of both her families to navigate the challenges ahead and forge a new future for humanity and the Zarkoni alike. The forest fell silent, save for the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, as the cosmic tale of the girl raised by aliens entered its most thrilling chapter yet. Quantum Diplomat. The world held its breath as news of Nova's return spread like wildfire across the globe. Hashtags like #AlienGirl and #CosmicHomecoming trended worldwide, and conspiracy theorists had a field day. But for Nova, reunited with her birth parents yet torn between two worlds, the challenge was only beginning. "Ladies and gentlemen of the United Nations," Nova began, her voice steady despite the sea of awestruck faces before her. At just 15 years old, she stood at the podium, flanked by her human parents and her alien guardians. "I come before you today, not just as a returned abductee, but as an ambassador for both humanity and the Zarkoni Empire." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Zixtal and Vrelna shifted uncomfortably, their alien forms drawing curious and fearful glances. "I know you were afraid," Nova continued. "Believe me, I understand. But we stand at a crossroads of cosmic proportions. We can choose fear and conflict, or we can seize this opportunity for unprecedented galactic cooperation." As Nova spoke, her hands began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The quantum energy that now flowed through her veins responded to her emotions, creating a mesmerizing display. "Through me, our worlds are already linked," she said, her voice taking on an otherworldly resonance. "Let me show you." With a gesture, Nova created a shimmering holographic display above the assembly. It showed the vastness of the galaxy, with Earth and the Zarkoni homeworld highlighted. "We are not alone, and we are not so different," Nova explained. "The Zarkoni have technology that could revolutionize our world. Clean energy, advanced medicine, faster-than-light travel. And we, in turn, have something they desperately need." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. "Humanity. Our creativity, our passion, our indomitable spirit. Together, we could unlock the secrets of the universe itself." As Nova's impassioned speech continued, cameras broadcast the historic moment to billions around the world. Social media exploded with reactions, memes, and heated debates about humanity's place in the cosmos. But not everyone was convinced. General Marcus Blackwood, head of Earth's newly formed extraterrestrial defense force, watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. "It's a trick," he growled to his assembled staff. "These aliens abducted a child, experimented on her, and now they're using her as a Trojan horse. We need to prepare for war. Back at the UN, Nova concluded her speech to thunderous applause. As she stepped down from the podium, she was mobbed by reporters and diplomats alike. Nova, how does it feel to be back on Earth? One journalist shouted. Are you more human or alien now? Another called out. Nova raised her hands, calling for quiet. I'm both, she said simply. And that's the point. We don't have to choose sides. We can build bridges instead of walls. As the crowd pressed in, Nova felt a sudden surge of anxiety. The quantum energy within her flared, and for a moment, reality seemed to ripple around her. Zixtal noticed immediately. Nova, your powers. But it was too late. With a flash of light and a thunderous crack, Nova inadvertently opened a quantum portal right in the middle of the UN assembly. Gasps of shock and fear echoed through the hall as the swirling vortex stabilized, offering a view of an alien landscape, the Zarkoni homeworld. I'm sorry, Nova stammered, struggling to control the portal. I didn't mean to. Her words were cut short as a familiar figure stepped through the portal. Grand Overseer Krastil, looking both regal and apprehensive, stood before the stunned human assembly. People of Earth, Krastil began, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into English. I come in peace, seeking to right the wrongs of our past and forge a new future together. The UN erupted into chaos. Security forces rushed in, weapons drawn. Nova's parents pulled her close, while Zixtal and Vrelna moved to stand protectively in front of Krastil. Please, Nova called out, her voice amplified by her quantum abilities. Everyone calm down. This is what I was talking about. A chance for real communication, real understanding. As the tension in the room reached a fever pitch, Nova made a decision. She stepped forward, placing herself between the humans and the aliens. I am the bridge, she declared, her body beginning to glow with quantum energy. And I will not let fear destroy this opportunity. With a burst of power, Nova created a shimmering force field, separating the opposing groups. The quantum barrier pulsed with images and emotions, scenes from both human and Zarkoni history, moments of triumph and tragedy, joy and sorrow. Look, Nova urged, her voice resonating with power. Really look. We're not so different. We've all loved, lost, dreamed, and feared. We've all gazed at the stars and wondered what's out there. Well, now we know. And we have a choice to make. As the images flowed, a hush fell over the assembly. Humans and aliens alike found themselves moved by the shared experiences displayed before them. Slowly, General Blackwood stepped forward, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. He stared at Krastil through the quantum barrier, years of military training warring with the undeniable evidence of a sentient, feeling being before him. How do we know we can trust you? Blackwood asked, his voice gruff but no longer hostile. Krastil's large eyes blinked slowly. You don't, he admitted, just as we do not know if we can trust you. But as your Nova has shown us, perhaps trust is something we can build together. Nova felt a surge of hope as she watched the two leaders, human and alien, regard each other with cautious respect. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was a start. As the quantum barrier faded, Nova realized that her journey was far from over. She was no longer just a girl, nor merely a science experiment. She had become something more, a cosmic diplomat, a quantum bridge between worlds. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with political intrigue, scientific breakthroughs, and the monumental task of integrating two vastly different civilizations. But as Nova looked around at her human family, her alien guardians, and the leaders of both worlds, she knew that together, they could face whatever the universe had in store. So, Nova said, a smile playing on her lips as she addressed the assembly. Who's ready to make some galactic history? As cheers erupted and reporters clamored for statements, Nova closed her eyes, feeling the quantum energy flow through her. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in human history, it was truly infinite. The girl raised by aliens had come home, and in doing so, she had brought the entire cosmos to Earth's doorstep. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin: cosmic convergence. The world watched with bated breath as Operation Starbridge unfolded. It had been 6 months since Nova's dramatic return to Earth and the subsequent first contact with the Zarkoni. Now, humanity was about to take its first steps into the galactic community. Nova stood atop the newly constructed quantum spire in New Tokyo, her eyes closed in concentration. The massive structure, a fusion of human ingenuity and Zarkoni technology, hummed with energy. Crowds gathered below, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Are you ready, Nova?" Zixtal asked, his tentacles gently squeezing her shoulder. Nova opened her eyes, which now shimmered with quantum energy. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let's make history." With a deep breath, Nova reached out with her mind, tapping into the quantum spire's immense power. The air around her crackled with energy as reality itself began to bend to her will. Suddenly, a massive portal opened in the sky above New Tokyo. Through it, the breathtaking vista of an alien world became visible: Zarkon Prime, the heart of the Zarkoni Empire. Gasps of awe rippled through the crowd. News drones buzzed excitedly, broadcasting the miraculous sight to billions around the world. #Cosmic Gateway and #Starbridge activated instantly became the top trending topics globally. As the portal stabilized, a sleek vessel emerged from the Zarkoni side. The ship, a marvel of biotechnology, gracefully descended towards the quantum spire's landing pad. Nova felt a surge of pride and nervousness as she watched the ship land. This was it, the moment that would change everything. The ship's hull rippled, and an opening appeared. Grand Overseer Christhill stepped out, followed by a delegation of Zarkoni scientists and diplomats. They were greeted by a mixed group of human leaders, including General Blackwood, who still looked somewhat uneasy. "Welcome to Earth," Nova said, her voice amplified for the crowd below. "Today, we take our first steps towards a united galaxy." As the human and Zarkoni delegations exchanged greetings, Nova noticed a commotion in the crowd. A group of protesters had broken through the security cordon, waving signs with slogans like "Humans First" and "No Alien Overlords." Nova's heart sank. Despite months of preparation and public outreach, fear and mistrust still ran deep in some quarters. Suddenly, one of the protesters raised a strange device. Before anyone could react, he fired it at the Zarkoni delegation. The pulse of energy shot towards Christhill. Without thinking, Nova leaped into action. She thrust her hands forward, creating a quantum shield that absorbed the energy blast. The force of the impact sent her staggering back, but she remained standing. The crowd gasped in shock. Security forces quickly moved in to apprehend the attacker. Nova, her body still crackling with residual energy, addressed the stunned onlookers. "This is exactly why we need this alliance," she said, her voice firm. "Fear and ignorance lead to violence, but knowledge and understanding can lead to peace." She turned to Christhill, who looked shaken but impressed. "Grand Overseer, are you all right?" Christhill nodded. "Thanks to you, Nova. It seems you truly are the bridge between our worlds." As the situation calmed, Nova felt a familiar tingling sensation. Her quantum powers were evolving again, responding to the high-stress situation. Suddenly, she was hit with a vision, glimpses of possible futures flashing before her eyes. She saw Earth and Zarkon Prime linked by a network of quantum portals. She saw human and Zarkoni scientists working together to unlock the secrets of the universe. But she also saw darker possibilities: wars, betrayals, and cosmic threats beyond imagination. Nova gasped as the vision faded, leaving her with a profound sense of the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. "Nova," Vralna asked, concern in her multifaceted eyes, "what did you see?" Nova took a deep breath. "The future," she said simply. "Or rather, possible futures. We have so much potential, but also so many obstacles to overcome." As the diplomatic proceedings continued, Nova's mind raced. She realized that her role was far from over. She wasn't just a bridge between worlds anymore. She was a guardian of possible futures, a quantum prophet who could help guide humanity and the Zarkoni towards a better tomorrow. Later that evening, as celebrations raged across the globe, Nova stood alone on the observation deck of the Quantum Spire. The portal to Zarkon Prime shimmered in the night sky, a constant reminder of the new era humanity had entered. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. Nova turned to see Dr. Elora Chen, Earth's leading quantum physicist, approaching. "Dr. Chen," Nova greeted her with a smile. "I was hoping to talk to you." "Oh," Chen raised an eyebrow. "About what?" Nova took a deep breath. "I think my powers are still growing. I'm seeing things, possible futures, quantum probabilities. I need help understanding what's happening to me." Chen's eyes widened with excitement. "Fascinating. Nova, do you realize what this could mean? You're not just manipulating quantum fields, you're perceiving them on a fundamental level. The scientific implications are staggering." As they discussed the possibilities, Nova felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Her journey from alien pet to cosmic diplomat had been incredible, but she sensed that even greater adventures lay ahead. "Dr. Chen," Nova said, her voice filled with determination, "I want to use these abilities to help both our worlds. But I can't do it alone. Will you help me?" Chen smiled, extending her hand. "My dear, I think we're about to embark on the greatest scientific adventure in human history. Count me in." As they shook hands, the quantum portal above pulsed with energy, as if the universe itself was acknowledging the momentous partnership being formed. Nova turned back to the window, gazing at the stars with new eyes. She was no longer just Nova, the girl raised by aliens. She was Nova, the quantum prophet, ready to guide humanity and the Zarkoni into a future filled with infinite possibilities. The cosmic convergence had begun, and Nova was at the heart of it all. As she stood there, bridging worlds and peering into quantum realities, one thing was certain: the greatest adventure in the history of two civilizations was just beginning.